Student presentations. This is really one of the more difficult and demanding classroom activities for teachers to manage. Much of it needs to be taught, and before students get involved in any kind of presentation, there has to be a clear understanding of the methodology to be used and your expectations overall. One can't assume that they know how to do this, so you have to coach them in the right direction. And it's not uncommon, of course, for students to be a little nervous to have to speak in front of their peers or in front of the class. So to alleviate that problem, I believe that all of the things I've been talking about, developing a strong rapport with your students, developing a classroom environment that is safe and that students feel comfortable in, all these things count. So, and that has to happen before you can get into any kind of serious presentation. So I wouldn't start that until all this classroom management has been fully implemented. And after that's been done, then you can start off with some presentation type things in small doses. It could be, for example, in a group situation where students could be together and look at a topic, research a topic, and then present it to the class as a whole. Dividing the responsibilities there becomes a little bit of a problem, but it can be overcome. You might want to have some students do more research, and while someone else may volunteer to actually do the presentation part. And evaluating this, that becomes another issue. Are you going to give a blanket mark for the group presentation, or is each student going to self-evaluate themselves, or are you going to have peer evaluations, or a blend of those things? Those have to be taken into consideration. And then if you're getting into a larger topic presentation where 2 or 3 students, you get at the front of the classroom and have to present a topic to the class as a whole, again, there has to be clear expectations. The listeners, the students, should be prepared to make notes on what's happened. They should be prepared to ask questions. And the presenters, they should share the duties as much as possible. And again, the expectation would be that they would all take a small part in the total presentation. And I think this type of approach would come later in your term, and most students will feel comfortable with that. I think that preparation is the key here, and that can come in a lot of different ways. And I mentioned already in another video, for example, that in a history class, students right on the first 2 or 3 days being given an article and writing down their description of what was in it, and they're giving their personal opinions. And that's a start. It's a small kind of thing, but it gets everybody by the end of the term involved in doing that little exercise. So wherever possible, give students that kind of responsibility, because I think it's good preparation for them in other situations in the future. One of the when these do take place, and the guidelines have been set up and all of these expectations have been outlined, then teachers can feel comfortable in implementing this. And I think teachers with a master plan within their teaching philosophy see this as an opportunity to address the development of student skills. And these include research, organization, sharing and interacting with other students, developing self-confidence, responding to questions, sharing, learning about different aspects of a topic, and preparing students for future similar type of experiences. So I think teachers would like to be able to assist students in developing those kinds of skills and responsibilities, but tread softly when you're dealing with the presentation process, because it has to be done very carefully and very directly, and then I think things will go well. Some teachers just don't like this kind of approach. It's very difficult. The most kind of difficult thing is the evaluation part of it, but there again, I think you can experiment with that and try different things and see what works best. And it depends on the class and the learning environment that you've established, of course. But it's definitely a worthwhile thing to do, and but try it out, try different situations, but don't just start off at the beginning of a semester and say, oh, get into groups and make a report and present it to the class. I mean, it's more than that. It's something you have to teach them. Our next topic is going to be a multiple kind of topic approach. We're looking at use of primary and original sources, and I'm going to break that down into several sections. This is one area that I feel is very strongly about, is very excellent kind of methodology to use in your classroom, and students find using primary sources very interesting. So we're going to break that down and give you some good practical tips on how to use this sort of thing.